Alright, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to some more news related videos. This is Dashiell Rose here. Welcome back to some more news related videos. I know I've been making a lot of them lately, but that's because there's actually been a lot of stuff kind of coming out. There's been a lot of stuff coming out and all that, so yeah, I'm gonna kind of, talk about, this, about GameStop this time. Don't worry, I will be getting back to, more reviews and Let's Plays, because those are personally more fun to me, I actually had some Let's Plays videos planned to upload, but, I'm having some problems uploading them. I'll probably make maybe a separate video kind of talking about that. But, yeah, I'm having some problems getting them to upload on YouTube. So, yeah. But, I am gonna, I'm trying to, mix things up and all that. But there's been a lot of, news stuff kind of coming out lately. Speaking of YouTube and all that, if you guys haven't already, remember to subscribe to my channel. If you guys don't like me talking about this, like I said, I do other stuff too. But I just like to throw my, opinion out there and all that, I feel like, I like doing that kind of stuff, and all that. So, yeah. But make sure you guys are still subscribed to and all that. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So, this probably won't be a super long video. However, I do want to talk about GameStop here and all that. And you guys probably know what I'm going to talk about here and the fact that they're struggling pretty bad. But before I, actually talk about that, I also want to give a farewell mention to a couple people who passed away, because and I don't feel like making a separate video on it, but, video games and all that are kind of in the industry and all that, and a lot of films, are, made into games and all that, but, we've lost, a composer named Guy Moon, who worked on The Fairly Odd Parents, Tough Puppy, apparently Johnny Test. He worked on a lot of stuff. Well, he worked on the later seasons, but I don't think he worked on the... I don't know if he worked on the older seasons. By older, I mean the first season, because, the first season of Johnny Test, the music was a lot different, but I think that's what he did. I think he helped create, the music and stuff, and all that for the shows and stuff, but he apparently got hit by a car and died, and ironically, the same thing happened to the person who helped create Call of Duty, too. Actually, I think he did create Call of Duty. He passed away getting hit by a car, too, in California. Both have died in California. That's actually kind of crazy. And it's crazier. I also almost got hit by a car myself, yesterday. I almost got ran over by an old person, because I was walking across the street. The guy wasn't paying attention, and he was a very, very old guy, and he almost hit me. I should have probably got his license plate, I don't, he didn't, intend to do anything, but I think it's just because he was super old, but there's, so many crazy drivers out there, I don't know, it's just crazy, but I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was kind of interesting and all that, and sad at the same time. Also, we've lost, apparently, the founder of, I think it was Sega, or, one of the founders, he passed away and all that, which, him and, the guy who made Call of Duty was a little bit back, a little bit, so it happened a little bit ago, not super long ago, but a little bit ago, where, like, Guy Moon passed away, I think it was yesterday. So, but, yeah, it's just crazy how we're losing all these big people. But, yeah, especially Sega. Because Sega's part of the game industry, too. But, yeah, I don't know. But anywho, I'm enough about that. I just wanted to mention those people because, I don't feel like making a separate video on them really makes sense, because I don't have a ton to say, except for, that they will be missed. But, anywho, let's go ahead and actually talk about the actual GameStop now. So, GameStop, as I stated, has been struggling for a while. Now, during COVID and all that, they actually filed bankruptcy and all that. They filed bankruptcy, and then they actually got out. They barely got out of bankruptcy after COVID. They almost went under, but they were able to get out from COVID. However, COVID really wasn't the biggest thing. I mean, yeah, COVID screwed a lot of shit up. It did, but, mainly in the, not in the entertainment industry, because those people had, like, tons of money. Now, their problems are they fucking go, a lot of these companies go on money sprints and buy a bunch of shit up and all that, and I mean, I'm sure it hurt them a little bit and all that, but a lot of them kind of, just use, excuses, for, like, why something goes out of business. Like, for example, Disney shutting Blue Sky Studios down. Like, they want to blame it on COVID, but they didn't really care about Blue Sky, it felt like. I think they just wanted an excuse to get rid of it. And, there was COVID, so they could cut costs because of how much they spent, And I mean, other, studios are the same way. But, that's kind of how it is. But GameStop, is in a similar situation where, now they were more, struggling because people couldn't just go in, and shop because people are locked in their houses. But GameStop has been struggling even before that, because GameStop has a big problem where they do not treat their employees right. There's been stories about that, like a lot of them are not getting paid well, or this or that. I've been to some, where, like, the employees that work there are freaking grumpy and all that, are rude. Hell, I was at, the GameStop and Jeff and all that, and the person there and all that, like this was a new manager, because the other one left. I'm assuming either he left or got fired, but he was a dick too. But this other one was, like, questioning me buying this. I'm like, you could just get it online or something. And I'm like, I didn't say it to him, but I'm like, dude, do you want a fucking job? I'm, like, trying to give you money and stuff here. And all that, and, I'm just like you guys can see the problem here. It's just like this. And I mean, not every GameStop is like this. I've been to a few, but a lot of them do tend to have, more grumpy-ish employees. But now we are going into a, situation here where GameStop is still struggling and all that, because, they really, there's not really much of a reason to go to GameStop. I mean, they have a big chunk of games and stuff. But so does Walmart. Walmart has them. Target has them. You can go to a lot of these different stores and all that, including Best Buy. I mean, Best Buy may not be as big of a competition, because Best Buy is not as, all over there as, Target is. Target and Walmart are more at places, but still, we have competition like that, and GameStop doesn't really offer a ton of deals anymore. They don't offer a ton of deals. They used to, like, offer a lot more deals, but now it's like, I mean, you can still get deals, like, you can, buy something and all that and get, you'll get something like $5 off, but like you have to pay so much money to get it, and like you don't really get much of your money back for doing it. That's why I don't buy a membership there. Like I can go in and yes, I can go in and buy something at the store, but I don't really go in there enough to to buy something. And again, like I don't know, it's just kind of crazy there, but. They also, some places were starting to do retro, stuff too, because, that's the thing with GameStop. GameStop, was trying to, get into the, GameStop was trying to, get into the whole business, of selling retro games, because we're also going through a thing here where, like, physical media for games now is starting to disappear too. Which honestly, I'm kind of surprised it's taking them this long to do it. But they are starting to do it. They're starting to like phase out physical media with them too, and more stuff's going online. Which is going to probably end up being a problem down the road because now we're not going to own our games like the movie stuff either, and people aren't going to deal with that, and it's probably it's gonna be like a fucking streaming war, but with game stuff and all that. And it's probably not gonna end well, because that's what streaming is right now. It ain't doing well. I mean, they want you to think it's doing well, but like if it was, they wouldn't be so desperate, like Paramount seems to be very desperate to buy, Warner Brothers for their movie catalog and all that. They seem to be very desperate for that. And that's just kind of crazy there and all that. And it's just like, I'm like, and that's the thing too. That's kind of what, the game companies are, becoming too. They're starting to like, do more stuff online. Like Nintendo has got their Nintendo Online crap. I don't even use it. Like, why do I want to pay Nintendo all this money for this shit? Like, when I already have a lot of the games that they have on Nintendo Online, So I'm like, why do I need to, pay every month to go get something like that, And that's kind of the thing, And that's the thing, it's cheap right now. That's what people, that's the thing. Nintendo Online, I think it's like $20, which is not like super cheap, but you get a lot of games for it. But like it will probably it's probably going to go up, just like Netflix and all it does. It'll all go up, and it's going to become a problem, But that's going to be kind of the thing there. But that's kind of why GameStop feel like was trying to go more into retro stuff. But I mean, they already were. In the past, they were already in retro. They already were a retro, company. In a way, they kind of already sold a bunch of older stuff. It wasn't really until pretty much COVID hit, they quit selling a lot of the games in there. They kind of were focusing on newer stuff. But now a lot of these places now, not all of them, I mean, the one in Jeff I go to, and then the one, I go into Columbia, and then, I have one I think I've been into in Hannibal, which is not there anymore, but I went there in Hannibal. Those GameStops sell, older games, and they're not super overpriced. But some of these games are like, that I've seen online, these retro GameStops, they're overpriced as hell. So they're like super overpriced and stuff. And I mean, yeah, online, a lot of these stuff's, more expensive. And all that, yeah, it's just kind of crazy. Which, speaking of which, it remembered me that I want to talk about, a console, too, that's, getting pricey, too, again. Actually, it's been pricey, but it's going up. But I think I'll talk about that more later, in another video. But yeah, I actually completely forgot about that, but But yeah, basically, yeah, like I said, GameStop is just, like I said, they're just not doing well. They're trying to get people in, but I think a lot of people are just pissed off with the company and how they treat their employees and stuff. I mean, a lot of companies are like this, but they treat their employees like crap, but, there's not really much of a reason to really go to GameStop anymore, you know? Especially in Missouri, we have like a bunch of vintage stocks and Slackers and stuff. Although Slackers, I guess, has been closing down some stores too. But we could go to those places and buy a bunch of stuff where GameStop and all that, they don't really have a lot of that old stuff. I guess to be fair with Slackers and V-Stock, they're more, trade-in stuff. Like, you have to trade in more stuff to actually, get what get stuff in there, and you gotta wait for trade-ins. Where GameStop, they would have it a lot of times. But, I mean, they would still have trade-ins, too, they were still doing kind of that. That's how we get a lot of that stuff. But I don't know. But yeah, it's just kind of sucks. Like, I cannot deny it kind of sucks that we're dealing with this. But unfortunately, this kind of is, the state of GameStop and all that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have a ton else to really say about it. Like I said, it's just I just think GameStop is on the end of its bridge here. Like, I don't know how much longer it'll be around. Like, I think it's gonna fade in the past. A lot of people are comparing it to Blockbuster in a way, and you know what? It kind of is. It kind of is. It's kind of becoming outdated. And, both GameStop and Blockbuster made a bunch of stupid decisions with money and all that behind the scenes. Like, both of the companies really, I think it was more, like, changing the company up and screwing up, their profits with, merchandise and stuff less than, competition. I mean, competition, yeah, it didn't help, like, Blockbuster had Netflix, and, GameStop, as I stated, has, Best Buy, Walmart, and Target. But still, it's kind of, again, it's just kind of a thing, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to come back. I mean, I'm not saying they couldn't, but I think the damage is probably done. I think at this point, we might as well just enjoy what's left of GameStop. I actually have bought some, merchandise from them in some special cases. Because they have some interesting cases where, they have a picture of, the consoles and stuff on there. It's pretty cool. I'll have to show off some next time I go to the store. I mean, although I guess I don't really upload those on YouTube much anymore because, I've kind of spreading my content out a little bit more, but I don't know where I'm going to upload those yet, but, I'm kind of thinking on that, but that's kind of what I do. That's why I keep, I video that kind of stuff to keep the stuff alive, in a way, but, I mean, I got the original idea, I think, from, I was thinking about, like, Hastings. People apparently recorded things they got from Hastings. Now, Hastings closed their stores down in 2016, and all. If you guys don't know what Hastings was, they were kind of like, if you guys ever been to a V-Stock or a Slackers, or I guess it's called Vintage Stock, but some locations apparently are called V-Stock. There was one in the Chesterfield Mall. It was actually just called V-Stock, but it was the same thing. And I think it was. Well, I mean, it was owned by the same people. I think they just shortened it down. But yeah, they sell a lot of like games and movies and stuff too, and all that. And they have merchandise, because like I said, that's kind of how GameStop is here. And they went out of business, so because they kind of spent a lot of money. They actually even apparently bought out something called Movie Stop, which actually has a similar logo design to this. So I don't know if maybe at one point, maybe Movie Stop was owned by GameStop too or something. I don't know. It's just kind of weird, but yeah, they went out, like when they, closed it down, everything that, they owned went out of business too, so, but yeah, that's pretty much kind of what it is there. Now speaking of movies, I want to point this out, that apparently, at one point too, they were selling the new Mario movie, and by new, I mean the one from, 2023, because, there's another one coming out this year in a couple months, but, they were selling that at GameStop too, which I found kind of weird. So I guess they were trying to sell some movies and stuff, which is kind of cool, but again, I just think they're outdated and all that. And I think selling retro stuff is a good idea, but I feel like, again, the damage is kind of done at this point. They have a lot of debt on them and all that too. And I've heard too that the CEO ain't getting paid anything and all that, which is kind of crazy. So he's not even getting paid anything. So, I don't know. I'm just like, I don't think they're gonna. I think they're done. I think they're done. I don't know if they're gonna come back from this. I mean, they've closed down a lot of locations like last year. So, yeah. But, I think that's pretty much about all I have to say here. But I will go ahead and let the video go. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Maybe they can turn it around, but I think they're kind of just trying to stretch things out like Blockbuster was, and Blockbuster was able to stay alive, but they kept closing more and more locations down, and then they're now down to their final one, which, it's nice to have one Blockbuster still around in Bend, Oregon, but that's all the way on the freaking other side of the country, and, it'd be nice to have more stores like it, down there, and I think that's probably what GameStop will be. GameStop will be just one of those. It'll be, people are gonna look back on it and be like, we kind of miss it, but they made a lot of stupid decisions. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to end up like that. I think in the future, people are going to look at it like Blockbuster. But, I don't know, but I'm going to go ahead and let the video go, though. So, yeah, I'm going to later on, I'm going to talk about also the console thing, because I actually forgot about it. Because there's actually I said I was going to talk about, there's a console that the price keeps going up and up on it. It's actually pretty wild. But I'll talk about that later. But anywho, I'll see you guys in the next video. Anywho, Dash All Rose out.